I love it. I love it. Atman, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'm super, super pumped. I specifically brought you on to just enlighten our audience with how to really support their children with breathwork. It's a question that I get all the time. Sam, my 4-year-old has anxiety and I don't know what to do and it's really stressful and I don't know how to help them. And so I was speaking for everyone listening. I was speaking at a conference with Atman a few weeks ago with one of my dear friends and mentors, Dan Brule, which has been on the podcast. You guys have heard him on here. And when I heard you speak, Atman, I was like, oh, this is the guy for the job. So I'm grateful that you're here. We're going to dive into all things breathwork, how to support children with breathwork. And very specific tools on how to help children regulate their own nervous systems through breathwork, bringing them back into a place of homeostasis. But before we get into all that goodness, I'm super curious. Who are you? Where did you come from? You have this light and this heart and this incredible essence to you. And I'm curious to know a little bit more about your journey that brought you here.
I am you, you are me. It's like, no, I'm just joking.
You spot it, you got it.
You know what I mean? Honestly, my parents, people used to call them like hood hippies. Because I'm from like the inner city of West Baltimore where the Freddie Gray uprising happened. And my brother and I had like a unique upbringing. Even though we were from the hood, our parents were like into veganism, into like yoga, meditation. We went to like a self-realization fellowship church. So we were like meditating before school. And, when I used to go to my buddies' cookouts, I used to have to take soybean hot dogs in cans and, all that type of stuff. And like, now, we would be those hip kids, but we were those weird kids back in the day. Then our parents, my dad was a Baltimore City public school teacher. And, he saw the disparity in the educational system. So he kind of wanted us to have our scope kind of more increased than it was if you were just living in a neighborhood, went to a homogenous school, and the educational system really wasn't setting you up for success. So he sent us to an independent school called Friends School of Baltimore, which is a Quaker school, where they had contemplative practices in there as well, with their meeting for worship, where you sat down once a week in silence, just reflecting on life. And then if you got motivated, you could stand up, say something, sit back down. A lot of my buddies and myself, we used to use that time when we could stand up and try to say something to get the whole meeting for worship to laugh. And we used to get in trouble. But reflecting on it, it did once again plant that seed of contemplative practices. And we had our godfather, me and my brother's godfather, who was our teacher, who he started off, he was a Black Panther. And in the Black Panther movement, they, near the end, they got into, instead of revolution, involution with like yoga and meditation. So he got into yoga and meditation in like probably like the late 60s and has never gotten out of it. My brother and I like to call him, we're big Star Wars geeks. So, we call him like Yoda on the Dagobah system, waiting for some students.
Yeah.
He used to always talk to us about yoga. We used to go over there and, we're known to drink a libation or two. So we used to drink a libation or two at his house and watch football. And he used to always tell us like, man, y'all putting these toxins in your body. What can get them out? And then he would show us like the breath of fire or Kapala body, because, after 3 minutes of that, that'll detoxify your body, oxygenate your blood, all that stuff. So while we're drinking, watching football, he'd start off doing, and we weren't ready for it. And we would look at him and be like, man, this dude is crazy. Let's get the hell out of here, But I mean, that's like the groundwork, the seeds that were planted in us. And, we got out of it for a long time. When me and my brother's parents separated, like when they were together, it was easy for them to kind of balance work and, their kids. But, when they separated, it got a little overwhelming, and they just had to make sure that they could keep a roof over our head and, just, survive. So we got out of it for a long time. When we went to college, we met our other business partner, Andy, and we started like looking into bless you. We started looking
Thanks.
we started looking into like, why are we here? Like, I know one thing we always used to say, if God said, let there be light, like, who made that light switch for God? And,
Oh, dang. Yes.
just a whole bunch of questions. Like, we were like, it's very disheartening to think that, we're here, we go to school, we go to college, we graduate, we get a job, we get married, we retire and die. And we're like, man, there has to be a lot more to life than just that. And we
Fuck
were
yeah.
looking for what that was. And we started like reading philosophy, creational theories, astrology, astronomy, and a lot of other different things. And, the more we read, the more questions came up. And, they would always say, the answer is within. The answer is within. Well, like, goddamn, how do we get within? And, during that time, our teacher, once again, our godfather, who was like trying to feed us, information about yoga and meditation and breath work. He's really big on the breath. For the longest, I guess we weren't ready for it at the time, but when we were looking for the answer of like why we're here, it started making sense to us. And it definitely showed you like how to get within yourself, like knowledge of self and, all that stuff, and make you a master of self. And, we've been sold, in our last year of college, that was 19, no, actually like 20 some years ago now. And, we've been on that path ever since. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
No, this is beautiful. It gives me so much context. And I think that's just so cool, growing up in the hood and having that contrast of like a lot of dysfunction, and then also this true north of following this path of some may call it enlightenment or deeper growth, and just being in that, and then you emerging and doing this work in the world. And I think what's particularly just amazing is the fact that you are taking this work to underserved communities all around America and Canada, which is just so incredible.
Definitely. Our teacher, I know we were at his house, and I'm not sure if you're down with this Yogi Bhajan, or the Yogi Bhajan,
Oh,
a lot of people
yeah.
pronounce it a lot of different ways. But there was like a manual on his shrine, on my godfather's shrine, that was like the survival kit. And it was a book, like I said, we're in the Star Wars and in the like comic books and all that stuff. And in this book, it taught you a lot of different meditations, whether it was like, it's way out there, it's very esoteric, but it's like how to maintain your body without food, or how to get yourself out of situations that you don't want to be in, and how to adjust your body, your electromagnetic field after an earthquake, and just a whole bunch of like out there stuff. And we looked at the book and we were like, yo, like, yoga and meditation does this for you. And he was like, yeah, and so we were like, so we can get some superpowers, we become superheroes and save the world. He was like, well, look, man, the siddhas, or the powers that you get from doing certain practices is a byproduct. And some people get caught on that and they don't advance further and get into that oneness, that universal oneness that is you, it is me, and all that stuff. And he was like, well, if y'all interested, y'all have to promise me two things. And this is after, drinking some libations, watching some football. And he was like, well, y'all have to show up at my house at 4:30 in the morning, because his whole thing was like getting practice in an hour and a half before sunrise. Because he said like, that's like, the God hour, because everything is like sleep. Everybody's mind is not like working, the pollution isn't that high, so you can get the most out of breath work. We used to meet him at a place which had long needle pines in the lake, so the air was amazing. So he said we have to meet him at 4:30 in the morning, and we would have to be teachers. You know what I mean? We couldn't be students because he said he didn't want. He said, I don't want no devotees. You know, like he just wants to
Mm-hmm.
create teachers to be able to, you know, start that ripple. And you know, that's been our motto also, is, you know, now having students and just creating teachers amongst the people that we're serving.
Oh God, that's so good. That's so good. Those experiences are so incredible. Those moments of stillness and silence when the world is sleeping and you're just so deeply connected to yourself, to life force, to whatever you call God. You know, it's like having that energy flowing through you and it being so potent. It's inconvenient that it's at 4 a.m. though. You know what I'm saying? Like, can that be like at 2 in the afternoon?
You know what I mean? Our dad used to always say you can't be a daytime person and a nighttime person, and we really learned that right there because we're some party animals. So it made us kind of adjust, you know, the way that we live, and you know, we became monks for a long, kind of like monkish or recluses for a while, and our friends thought we went crazy, but you know, it was so we could go in, so we could come outside. You know.
What do you have to say to people who are still living a very externalized life and they've heard the concept, the answers are within, but they keep hitting their own resistance and barriers? And there's almost like this refusal to go in. How do you support people into making that shift?
I mean, we give them simple tools, whether it's like teaching them about just like belly breathing or other breaths that do specific things for you. And then we give them the neuroscience as well, because, you know, some people are sold on, you know, experiential experiences, and then the rest, other people more scientific based and want to get the science and the neuroscience behind what it does to your mind, or physiologically what it does for you and stuff like that. And then it's all about like, you know, a lot of people associate these practices with things that you know, you roll your mat out for, and you know, you bust out, you know, some practices for like an hour, but then you still have 23 hours during the course of the day. So it's all about teaching people how they can incorporate it into their lives. So it's like teaching people, if they have certain habits, whether if they check their phone all the time, you know, whenever they check their phone, we tell people just be mindful of your breath. See if you're breathing in and out through your mouth. See if you're shallow breathing or deep breathing. And if you are, take maybe like 3 deep breaths and kind of get yourself grounded. Or you know, before you go into work, when you touch it, take your keys out of the ignition. We have this variation of ujjayi breath, or we call it the stress breath,
Mhm.
where you know, it's really good at kind of like pushing that reset button on your mind, because you know, during the course of your home life, not everybody, but you know, sometimes you accumulate stress at home, and then when you go into work, you bring some of that stress into work, and you're not present or grounded for the people that you're serving. So, you know, when you touch your keys, get grounded, do like 15 breaths, same thing. You know, when you go home, when you touch those keys before you go in the house, because you may have accumulated some stress from work, and, you know, you don't want to bring that to your loved ones, you know, do 15 of those breaths before you go into the house. Or if you check emails, before you check your email, like before you open up another email, maybe see how your breath is, do some deep
Mhm.
breathing, or, you know, whatever. It's just figuring out how to take the practice off the mat and into the world and make it practical to people. And once they understand how practical it is and how it can help you navigate the ups and downs of the roller coaster of life, you know, they're like, hell yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, it's incredible to me how quickly we can change our state using breath work. There's nothing quicker. No amount of mindset work or focusing or affirmations or visualization is going to bring us to those deeply embodied states where we're having true access and glimpsing our true nature. You know, we can go from a hot mess express into like a grounded monk in like 3 minutes. Hello.
Definitely,
What
definitely.
else can do that, you know?
Nothing. I know one of our, she calls us her Jewish godmother, like she's our Jewish godmother, Sharon Salzberg.
Mhm.
She's like, the reason why I love breath so much is because it's portable. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
you know, there are a lot of different things. Like, you know, sometimes people have the singing bowl, and, you know, some people do candle gazing. All that stuff is great, but, you know, not that many people carry a candle in their pocket or a singing bowl in their pocket. I mean, they do have apps and stuff now that I guess you can carry that stuff in your pocket, but your breath is with you all the time. So if you can find a way to make that a tool to be able to bring yourself, like you said, to kind of bring you back to being grounded, that's a tool that's priceless, like MasterCard.
It's so powerful. It's so
Mhm.
powerful. So if children are having a level 10 freak out and they're in a highly activated traumatic state, they're freaking out. How can parents support them in regulating their nervous systems? I know you have some epic tools around this, particularly one of my favorites, which is the taco breath. So can
Oh, yeah.
you support our listeners with just giving them some tools and some strategies to help children when they are in those freak out states, and ultimately helping the parents too? Helping parents not
Definitely.
go insane. Here we are.
Definitely. First thing you do is you pick your child up by the shoulders and shake them. It's like, no, I'm just joking. Just joking.
Shut
Uh,
up, Johnny.
yeah, look, man, you better be quiet. Like, no. One thing that we learn, not, and this is even before you get into the breathing, because it's kind of hard when somebody is going through crisis to be like, all right, look, calm down and breathe, because that kind of triggers them even more. One of the first things that we do is like do active listening or mirroring. We, either like look at the kids, like we have something called a mindful moment room in schools where kids, when they are in crisis, they can come down to the room. It kind of helps the teachers out and their fellow students out because it's not a big distraction. They come down there. First thing we do is have the kids come in and talk about what's bothering them. And we don't comment, we don't say anything. We just actively listen, look at them in their eyes, no expressions, no And that empowers the kid. And then after we do that, we'll do some mirroring where we'll repeat some of the stuff that excuse me, that good soda water right there.
I burp so much when I drink soda water.
Oh my gosh, it has so much effervescence in it. It's like,
It
no.
does. It's so activating.
you know? But yeah, the mirroring, that empowers the students too, because so many people do not listen to kids at all, and if you repeat word for word what these kids are saying without any judgment, it empowers the kids totally. And that kind of grounds them a little bit and kind of gets them a little bit more calm. And then, after we do that, we talk to them about, how the stress kind of plays out in their body. Like, what happens to you, like when you get angry or before you get angry? What do you do before you blow up? Like, do you like clench your fists? Do you like tighten your jaw? Do you play with your hair? Do you shift your weight? Do you bite your fingernails? So it's like letting them see the states that they're in before they, I'm like I said, I'm a comic book person. Before they hawk out, you know what I mean? Um, then we ask them, well, what's their triggers? Like, is it like your sibling? Is it, a fellow classmate in school? Is it, the way, if it's a parent, is it the way that I'm talking to you? And just, have them understand, what those triggers are that kind of set them off. And then after all that stuff, after we do the active listening, mirroring, have them identify on their bodies, how they kind of the stress plays out in their body, who their triggers are, then we go into like different breathing practices. And it depends on like if it's young kids, we'll do certain practices. If it's older kids, we may do other breathing practices. But, or if, kids are really restless because, in the city, in Baltimore, we don't have a gym for real. So kids have a lot of restless energy. So we may get them to do some physical poses because, like Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says, like the body keeps the score and, trauma gets stored in the body. So we may get them to kind of like do specific asanas to release some of that trauma in their body before we actually get into the breathing practices, which helps still the mind. And then we usually end off with like a meditation, and then usually it kind of gets the kids grounded, present, and ready to function.
And my assumption is if you go through that process enough times, children can learn to actually do this themselves. to move their body, shake it out, and adding some funny things like shake like a, I don't know what's an animal that shakes, shake
A
like a
Polaroid picture, like Outcast said.
shake like a Polaroid. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, so it's just so powerful. Like if I knew how to regulate my nervous system when I was 4 years old, I probably would have like saved myself years of just uh, destruction and just numbing out.
I
Yeah.
think one of the coolest things is with that the mindful moment program that we have in, I guess, over half of the Baltimore City public schools, and we have it in schools like nationwide as well. One thing that we've seen is that at the beginning of the year, the numbers are really, really high, but as a year progresses, the numbers decrease because
Mm.
the kids are learning how to self-regulate, how to identify, when they're dealing with their triggers, whether it's a classmate, teacher, or if they're just dealing with their own internal trauma, um, and how it plays out in their body, and then different practices that they actually use to kind of get themselves grounded and present. And, near the end of the year, we don't have any kids come into the room. So it's
Wow.
beautiful.
Wow. What is the worst thing a parent can do when their child is going through a level 10 freak out?
Why don't you calm down?
And isn't it funny? Because that is literally what happens all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who really knows, like, if kids aren't trained on how to calm down, like whether it's with their breath or, whatever techniques that are out there, the breath, I think, is like, like I know, is like one of the greatest tools that you can have to help yourself get grounded and calm down. But, like back, back in the day, they really didn't have any techniques and tools when they told people to calm down. You know what I mean? And I mean, this stuff is timeless, but I'm saying it's more in pop culture nowadays. But telling somebody to calm down without any tools is, is asinine.
Mm.
It's, you know.
What's your favorite lineage of breathwork?
Um, I guess anybody who's teaching pranayama, um, like our teacher, taught a lot of like the different Kriya yoga practices, um, a lot of yogi bhajans practices, a lot of self-realization fellowship practices, whether it was Yogananda, who wrote the book Autobiography of a Yogi. That's the type of church we grew up in.
Mm.
Um,
I live in Encinitas, California, so I've got the temple down here.
oh yeah, yeah. We actually we went out there and we were so excited to go out there. But then when we went out there, like it was like you couldn't go onto the campus and they had like armed guards out there. It was like, whoa, man, what the hell is this?
Was it during COVID or no?
No, it was pre-COVID. It
Oh,
was like when we
dang.
were out there for, oh, so you live in a beautiful place.
Dude, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, no, it was we were out there for a conference that we were speaking at, and it wasn't too far away from Encinitas, and there was like a really good taco shop like right down the hill
The
from there.
taco stand.
Yeah, yeah. And like we went there and it was beautiful. Like it was like overlooking like a cliff and some water and all that type of stuff. But it definitely, didn't give us the vibe that we thought it
Mm.
was going to. But sometimes I guess certain things are best left to your imagination. Like,
Mhm.
I thought they were going to be like, oh, you guys are here. Come visit, come see some of your heritage. But, it wasn't like that at all. But, I'm sure there are reasons why that it was like that. And, yeah,
They're
but
so protective over it. They're
yeah,
so,
and
'cause it's such sacred ground. So they have people there to make sure that people aren't going there and having drinking in the meditation gardens and things like that. So I know they keep it on lock for sure. But I know what you mean. It's kind of like, whoa.
yeah, it wasn't what I expected. But,
Yeah.
I'm sure, like you said, that there are reasons why, that it was like that, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. What conference was that? Was it up in La Costa, the Deepak Chopra Center?
It was like something on like neuroscience or
Okay.
like, you know, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know John Kabat-Zinn was there. Mark Greenberg. I think it was like I don't remember exactly. It was so many years ago,
Mm,
but we definitely took a picture. Me, my brother, and the other co-founder took a picture in front of the Self-Realization Fellowship picture, you know, like in
nice.
B-boy stance.
Nice.
That's probably why they didn't let us in.
They're like, see you later. You guys are
Yep,
going to trash this place.
we're watching
Uh-uh.
you guys.
If someone is just starting out on their healing journey, would you recommend starting with meditation or breath work?
Um, I would honestly recommend them to start with like a physical practice,
Mm,
just because you know the eight limbs of yoga. You know what I mean? Like the first two are like the things that you should do and you shouldn't do, and then after that, the first one is postures. The reason why is because you know, like I was saying, that trauma gets stored in the body, and if your body is in a safe place, your mind will not be a safe place as well. So, you know, releasing some of that trauma that's stored in the body, and the postures are there to kind of make it easier for you to be able to sit down and do the breath.
mhm.
And then, you know, after, you know, asana is pranayama, you know what I mean? Like the breathing practice and stuff like that. And then that's like the first four stages of, you know, the eight limbs of yoga. And then the last four are all meditation. So like when we teach folks, like that's kind of like the style that we try to teach from, is like making their bodies a safe place and getting that restless energy out so they can actually sit down and be cool with stilling their mind with the breath. Then after you still your mind, you can get into that meditation, because you know a lot of people when they meditate, it's more reflection. They have a lot of thoughts going through their mind, and you know that reflection is dope as hell, but you know meditation is something different than reflection. So you know the way that you make it not be reflection is by, like you were saying, with the breath, to still your mind and then jump into that meditation.
Dude, I love that so much. I agree. I agree 100%. I remember when I was going through a lot of my eating disorder stuff, body image stuff, where my body felt like an incredibly unsafe place to be. And people would say, just meditate, just meditate. And I'd sit there and try and meditate and feel so uncomfortable, so in so much pain. My mind would be racing. It wasn't relaxing at all. And I kept hitting barriers with that. So I wish I had heard you say this exact thing, 10 years ago, because it was definitely a ride. And for me, breath was the thing that I needed before meditation. So I love that. I love
Definitely.
that.
And I mean, and the thing with the postures, you know, a lot of people think that, you know, postures is all about the bending and stretching, but the bending and stretching only complements the breath while you're in those postures. So the breath is involved
Mhm.
in the bending and stretching. I don't
I
know what I was just doing right there. That's not bending and stretching,
this
but
is your version of bending and stretching.
yeah, I was shaking it like a Polaroid picture.
Dude, it's been so great getting to know you, having you on, you sharing your genius. I'm just so grateful that people like you exist, that are serving, underprivileged communities and really bringing this work to people in need. So thank you for your work in the world. Thank you for coming on here and adding value to our audience. Where can people connect with you, contact you, get in touch with you? Where should we send people?
I mean, I guess there are two places. One, you know, theinvolutiongroup.com. And you know, because we know like that we are brothers and sisters as far as how much we you know, value the tool of the breath. We have like a couple workshops on that website where if they input your name, Samantha Skelly, on the coupon code, that they can get free courses on,
Woo!
you know, whether
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
a Black Lives Matter course or helping you get to sleep or mantras, or, like it's a whole plethora of different courses that they will have access to. They can only pick one, but because you blessed us with being on your podcast,
Oh,
if they
cool,
use
dude.
your
Thank
name during
you.
the coupon,
Mm.
they can get a free course. And then the nonprofit where we're like really of service, like straight service all the time, is Holistic Life Foundation, which is HLF. That's Harry Larry Frank, INC
Mm.
.org, and you can see what type of programs that we do. And we do travel, we do set up satellite courses, and we're all about empowering communities to impact themselves. So just reach out to us. My email is my name, ATMAN @HLFINC.org. I am of service, so if it's any questions that you have, just hit me up.
Thank you so much, dude. I'm excited to get to know you better. I'm so grateful that you were on the show, and by divine intervention, we were brought together in a pretty cool way. So thank you.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. And
Of course.
that's a dope hat. And, next time we're out your way, I would love for my partners to meet you as well. And, we'll take you to the taco shop.
Let's do it. That's my love language. Tacos. Holler.
Definitely, definitely.
Awesome. Amazing.